Year 1938. The Reich Air Ministry, the RLM, under the technical direction of Ernst Udet, issues an urgent and critical specification to the German aviation industry. The Luftwaffe, secretly preparing for a European war of domination, needs a new short-range tactical reconnaissance aircraft. They need an eye in the sky that's fast, agile, and above all offers the crew perfect unobstructed visibility to spy on enemy positions, correct artillery fire, and photograph defences before the tanks advance across enemy lines. The major aviation companies like Arado and Focke-Wulf respond with traditional, logical and safe designs. They present twin-engine or single-engine aircraft with standard fuselages, where symmetry is considered the absolute law. But in the port city of Hamburg, in the design office of the Blohm Voss shipyards, there's a chief engineer named Dr. Richard Vogt, who completely despises tradition. Vogt looks carefully at the ministry requirements and sees a fundamental problem in all of his competitors' designs, the engine placement. In a classic single-engine aircraft, the propeller, engine block and wings occupy most of the pilot's field of vision. For a spy plane, this is a fatal defect and completely unacceptable blind spot. Vogt knows that twin engines like the FW-189 solve this problem effectively, but they're significantly more expensive, heavier and slower to manufacture. He wants the visibility of a twin engine with the economy of a single engine. The solution he came up with was so radical, so heretical for the engineering of the time that when he presented the first blueprints in Berlin, the Luftwaffe officers thought it was a tasteless joke or a drafting error. Vogt decided to literally and physically split the aircraft in two halves. Thus was born the concept of the Blohm Voss BV-141, the most asymmetric, strange and visually disturbing aircraft that has ever taken flight in military aviation history. Vogt took the main fuselage, where the immense BMW radial engine and tail section are housed, and shifted it completely to the left side. And the cockpit, where the pilot, observer and gunner go, he removed it entirely from the fuselage and placed it on the right wing, in an independent glazed gondola floating alone in the air like a space capsule. At first glance, the BV-141 looks exactly like a factory assembly error. It looks like an aircraft missing its entire right half or two, completely different aircraft that collided in the air and stuck together. It breaks all the intuitive laws of physics, aesthetics, and aerodynamics, which tell us an aircraft must be a mirror of itself to avoid spinning out of control catastrophically. A quick pause. I know you're looking at this design on the screen and your brain is telling you it's impossible for it to fly straight. If you love discovering these engineering aberrations that official history has almost forgotten and want to understand how the craziest war machines really worked, make absolutely sure you subscribe right now. We're pulling an impossible Wunderwaffe from the secret archive every single week, and believe me, you don't want to be the only one who doesn't know the next beast we're going to analyse. Hit the subscribe button, join the squadron, and let's continue with this asymmetric madness. The engineering behind this deformity was ironically brilliant and calculated to the millimetre. Richard Vogt wasn't crazy at all. He was a genius of force compensation. He calculated that the weight of the cockpit displaced to the right would exactly compensate for the immense torque that the propeller generated when rotating to the left. Normally, pilots have to constantly fight against that rotation by constantly adjusting the rudder. In the BV-141, the weight asymmetry itself cancelled out that force, allowing straight and level flight effortlessly. Additionally, he designed the right wing deliberately longer and with a different shape than the left to generate more lift on the heavy cockpit side. It was a perfect mathematical dance of opposing forces that turned an ugly design into an efficient machine. The crew sitting in their glass capsule on the right had a divine, almost omnipotent vision. There was no engine, no spinning propeller, no exhaust smoke in front of them. It was like flying on a magic carpet stuck to the side of the aircraft. They could look up, down, forward and backward without moving their neck at all. When the first prototype, the BV-141V1, rolled down the test runway on February 25, 1938, Air Ministry officials and military observers held their breath expecting the inevitable disaster. Intuition told them that monstrosity would do an uncontrollable spin as soon as it accelerated, that the wing would touch the asphalt or the structure would vibrate to complete disintegration from lack of balance. The test pilot pushed the throttle lever forward, unleashing the full power of the BMW 132 radial engine with 1,000 horsepower. The aircraft ran straight as an arrow, lifted its asymmetric nose and took off with an amazing smoothness and stability that left everyone completely speechless. Against all odds, against common sense and against the mockery of the competition, the one-eyed aircraft flew perfectly. In fact, subsequent flight reports proved it was more stable, faster, and had better visibility than its direct rival, the twin-engine Focke-Wulf FW-189 Uhu. The BV-141 exceeded all technical expectations. Even the tail gunner had a clear field of fire because, not having the fuselage behind him but to his left, he could shoot directly backward without any fear of hitting his own tail. It was the perfect observation platform, but the BV-141 had an enemy that aerodynamics and mathematics couldn't fight against: human psychology and the stubborn bureaucracy of the Nazi regime. The Luftwaffe generals, and especially Ernst Udet, simply didn't like it at all. It gave them visceral fear. It seemed unnatural, fragile and un-German. In a culture obsessed with perfection, order and symmetry, a crooked aircraft was almost an aesthetic offence. Udet looked at it with contempt during demonstrations and said that would never be a combat aircraft worthy of bearing the swastika symbol. But the final nail in the project's coffin wasn't aesthetic, it was logistical. The improved versions of the BV-141, the B-series, needed a more powerful engine to carry more armour and cameras. The powerful BMW 801 won with 1560 horsepower. The problem was the engine, the BMW 801, was the heart of Germany's new starfighter, the Focke-Wulf FW-190. Engine production was limited, and the Air Ministry made a pragmatic decision. Every available BMW 801 engine would go to fighters to defend the Reich from Allied bombers, not to an experimental reconnaissance aircraft that nobody wanted to fly. Despite Vogt's design being superior in many technical aspects, the main contract was given to the competition to the Focke-Wulf FW-189, a much more conventional, slower twin-tail aircraft and prettier in the eyes of traditionalists. Blohm and Voss only managed to build a small evaluation series between 20 and 28 examples of the BV-141. However, they didn't stay in hangars accumulating dust. Some of these prototypes were sent to the Eastern Front in 1941 for real operational tests with the Sonderstaffel BV-141. Imagine for a moment the face of Soviet soldiers entrenched in the snow, seeing that deformed thing pass over their heads at low altitude. They probably thought the Germans had run out of parts and were flying randomly stuck together scrap, or that it was a terrifying secret weapon. The few pilots who flew it in combat loved it for its visibility and robustness, but suffered chronic hydraulic problems. Although it never entered mass production and ended up being a footnote in history books, the BV-141 has earned a place of honour in the Olympus of strange engineering. It empirically proved that symmetry is overrated and that sometimes the ugliest and most radical solutions are the most effective. It was the spiritual father of modern science fiction designs, and an eternal reminder that in war function should dictate form, even if the form turns out to be a visual nightmare. We've seen rocket planes that dissolve pilots, manned bombs, double-decker aircraft, and now the asymmetric aircraft. The gallery of Luftwaffe technological horrors is almost complete, but we're missing the crown jewel, the holy grail of Nazi futuristic technology, the aircraft that really scared Allied intelligence because it seemed to come from the year 2000. I'm talking about the Horten HO-229, the first pure jet-flying wing, the first stealth radar-invisible aircraft in history, paradoxically made of wood and coal. If you think the BV-141 is weird, wait until you see the spaceship the Horten brothers built in a garage. Subscribe and activate the bell right now, because in the next video we're going to analyse the secret father of the B-2 Spirit bomber. See you in the future.